Hi everyone. Today I use Sunkissed from the Shave Mercantile, and I talk about part 1 of the Battle of Athens, America's Forgotten Revolution. Please stay tuned. Hope you're doing well. John Bonham here, Cape Cod Wet Shaving. Alright, got another history shave for you. Very good one. Kind of a milestone for me anyways. I'll get to that in a second. Coffee of the day, Pete's House Blend Dark Roast. One of my favorites. My wife loves Pete's. It's her favorite brand of coffee, one of them. Although I've gotten her into Sterling very much. This is just a run-of-the-mill dark blend. I mean, it's got chocolatey, maybe a little tiny bit of a berry, fruity undertone to it, but very toasty, chocolatey, kind of black as always. So, all right, let me run through the software I'm going to use today. All right, so today's history shave was a request from Ethan of the Shave Mercantile. How you doing, bud? As such, I'm going to be using one of his soaps today. It's called Sunkissed. It's a obviously an orange soap. It's sweet orange and mandarin with the scent notes. Easy peasy, very simple, very nice though. Oh, doesn't sound like much, but it's really, really, really good. I love citrus soaps. They've grown on me quite considerably, and this is one of the first ones I ever got. So, near and dear. I do believe it's discontinued as of right now. Originally, it was $14.99 on his site. He does have other soaps, though, so go check out theshavemercantile.com. And he's not sponsoring this video, by the way, as I usually say. I'll tell you if I'm being sponsored, which is rare. So, he's based out of Tennessee, and today's history shave takes place in Tennessee, so you'll see. Along with that, I'm going to use Subtle Art Soap Citrus Pre-Shave Oil. Goes perfectly with this. How you doing, Joe? And I'm going to break out my Lucky Tiger Splash. I've not used this in a while. For those who've never used it, it does have a citrus scent to it. Very citrusy. Not overpowering. But it's... I remember using it in one video and I compared it to Goo Gone. The smell of Goo Gone, the chemical, if you ever used it. I know that doesn't sound great, but it does smell a lot like it, but it pairs very well with it, all right? And I'm going to be using Be Bald Post-Shave Balm. I broke out a lot of stuff that I haven't used in a while. One of the downsides to a set, soap and a splash and a balm and all that, is you could pair it with other stuff if you wanted to. I just use the set. Why else would you buy it? So when I just get a standalone soap with no matching splash, I love it because I get to go around all my other stuff and pair it with different things. So hardware is going to be my Shadow from Shave It Shave Co. Rest in peace. How are you, Ben? Wish you well, buddy. If you're not familiar with this guy, they're doing a going out of business sale right now as of the filming of this. On September 25th, they'll close their doors for good. They still have some razors and stuff marked off, I think like 60%, something like that. So go check them out. Really good stuff. Ben's a good guy. He and his dad started this business together, and it got him through COVID and stuff. If you hear the story, it's really cool. So it's sad to see him go, but I'm happy for him. He's gonna be, moving on to a new stage in his life and all that. Okay. Oh, so the bowl, Captain's Choice Copper Heavyweight. I grin like an idiot because that's one of my favorite bowls. Using my Fendrahan, I call it a solar flare. I don't know, it doesn't really have a name as far as I'm aware. But I'm using that Badger brush, and I'm going to be using my Treat Falcons. Become one of my favorite blades ever. Those things, so. All right. Long-winded, wow, already 4 minutes into this. So, I'm going to start lathering, but before I get into the history shave, this is the first time I'm doing a two-parter. So the Battle of Athens is incredible. There's a book or two about it. I think there might be a movie. I'll touch more on that in part 2 at the end of it. I'll look up links and stuff, but it's something Ethan wrote me out of the blue and said, hey, I came across this. I forgot about it. It reminded me of you. He sent me the link. I looked it up, and instantly I was like, I've never heard of this. In fact, why has no one else ever heard of this? It's out there. So when I was doing research, there's a ton of stuff about after this happened, but not a lot about before, the people in it and stuff. So there aren't as many photos as I would like. So when I do these, okay, I do 3 pages. That's the max I'll allow myself. After 3 pages, because 3 pages is even pushing it. 3 pages is already going to be probably a 35, 40-minute video. 30 minutes is pushing it. 20 minutes is even pushing it for most people. Most people like between 5 and 15 minutes. I know these are long. That's why I do this. So I've mentioned before, one of the worst things that I come across when I do these is that I have to omit a lot of stuff for time. And I hate that, because there's a lot of stuff that I want to throw in that I can't, unless you want an hour-long video, which you don't. So the editing process for me, I'll even say in the video, like, please go look this up. It's incredible. There's stuff in this I couldn't mention. Please go look. In this case, I got to 3 pages and I realized I wasn't halfway through it. And that had never happened. Where I went through, when I start hitting 3 pages, I go and look and I'll scratch things out, or I've even rewritten a page before to omit some stuff to make it more, because after scratching things out and adding it, I was all over the road. It looked atrocious. In this case, I just looked over everything. I'm like, I can't find a lot to omit that I'd be okay with without really telling the story. And on top of that, there's just too much. There's too much. So I'm going to make this a part 2, a 2-parter. So part 1 is going to be the lead up to part 2. Okay. So part 1 I'll call the beginning, or the troubles, or something like. No, not the troubles. That can be confused with the NRA and all that stuff. So the IRA, excuse me, not the NRA. I hope I don't get flagged. Okay, so anyway, long story short, this is the first time I'm doing a 2-parter, so I'm excited. All right, you ready? The Battle of Athens, the Forgotten Revolution, and I call it that for a reason, okay? That sign that's on the cover, that's an actual sign in the town that commemorates what I'm about to talk about here. And FYI, his soaps are locally sourced to him, and he's a Tennessee vendor, and the soaps are made in Tennessee for him, for the Tennessee vendors. So I think that's pretty neat. And this is it's Athens, Tennessee, in McMinn County. So Tennessee Day. If I had the license to do so, I'd be playing some Taylor Swift in the background. I think she's from Nashville. Not a huge Taylor Swift fan, but just because I'm sure there's other Tennessee groups. Anyways, mine's everywhere. Sorry, I'm tired. All right, so the Battle of Athens took place in 1946 in McMinn County, Tennessee. I already told you that. It is the only, this is badass, okay? It is the only other armed rebellion, successful armed rebellion, to happen in the United States since the American Revolution. See, I love that. This stuff you come across. The only other successful armed revolution in this country since the country was made. Gangster. Okay. So the troubles, there it is again. The troubles in Athens, Tennessee began in 1936 with the election of this man, Paul Cantrell, for sheriff. This is the only photo of him that I could find, all right? Which is weird because this guy was everywhere, and you think he'd love the limelight, as you'll see. But this is the only photo of him I can find. I know it's kind of grainy, but I found 2 photos of him. Sorry. They just look the same, and they're from the same page. So this was him in 1936. This guy's a douchebag, okay? And I am lathering, so I'll show you that in just a second. Cantrell came from a prominent family in the nearby town of Etowah. Etowah. My apologies, Tennesseans, if I am mispronouncing that. I believe it's Etowah. He was able to utilize FDR's popularity to get himself into office. Now, he was a Democrat. vegan soap, but it's really damn good. Wonderful soap. I love Ethan's soaps. I have all of them, be a fact. And I'm hoping, hint, hint, that he's going to come out with a new scent. I think he said he was going to. Hopefully. Maybe a seasonal or something. We'll see. I don't want to speak for him. Or state something, or worse, state something that is not going to come to pass. So, it's really nice orange scent. And it's still summer until the 22nd of this month. So, let's do a citrus. So Cantrell, prominent family from the county itself. Now, when I say he rode FDR's coattails to his position because of his family, obviously his family probably was a big supporter of the campaign, the FDR campaign. Maybe they even knew FDR personally. I don't know. It was easier, I think, to know the president back in those days. Especially if you were prominent. Where was FDR from? I should know that. Where was he born? I wanted to say Illinois or Iowa. I don't know off the top of my head where he was born and raised. Maybe Kansas? No, not Kansas. Anyway, sorry. So he was able to basically go around saying, hey, I know FDR, to get himself into a place of power. Now, he was reelected as sheriff in 1938 and 1940, respectively. He was then elected to the state senate in 1942. He ran for state senate. So he just kept going up the echelons of power. His former deputy, a man named Mansfield, Pat Mansfield, also a douchebag in training. All right. He became the sheriff after he moved up to state senator. So here's a photo of Mansfield. In the same spot I found the photo of Cantrell. There's Pat Mansfield. All right, so 1 second, sorry. Look at that lather. Yummy, yummy. Cantrell spent his years solidifying his position while also making it more difficult to oppose him. So, for instance, in 1941, there was a law he put into play that shrank the voting precincts considerably. They went from, I think, the high 20s to like 12 or 14. Now, what that does is it lowers the number of precincts he had to strong arm to get to vote in his favor. So it's a lot harder to get 28 precincts to vote for you than it would be for 14 or 12 or whatever it was. Okay? It also reduced the numbers of justice of the peace positions to 7. Okay? 4 of them were reported directly to him. They were called Cantrell's boys. That's how around his pinky finger these guys were. Over half. Well, 7, so you can't really have half, but you know what I mean. So he basically used the democratic system to pull some really borderline fascist crap to keep himself in office. The sheriff, excuse me. There's a photo of the McMinn police station. This police station becomes very important later in this story. Okay? I got a couple of photos of the front of this police station. Notice that sign that says no visitors? I don't know if that was common for the time. But this town was called the Friendly City, I believe. Something like that. It's later in the notes here. But the point is that sign is not very friendly, especially for an elected official. No visitors? Who the hell are you? It's a taxpayer. It's a building paid for the taxpayer. Paid for by the taxpayer, damn it. I just had pizza and coffee. Breakfast of champions. All right. The sheriff and the deputies were also paid utilizing a fee system. Okay, FEE, fee. And this fee system was about as broken as a system can get. Every person that was processed, incarcerated, or tried resulted in a fee paid directly to the deputy who did the arrest. There's a problem there. There's a problem with the whole thing, but directly to the deputy, what do you think is going to happen there? Makes quotas look like nothing. Now, these sheriffs were really just as crooked as their leader was, all right? These guys were so crooked they could swallow a stick and shit a boomerang, okay? This fee, highly abused, and as a result, there was an almost immediate abuse of the system. Tourists and travelers, this is the big thing. Tourists and travelers were routinely stopped for no reason and ticketed for everything from drunkenness, even if they weren't, to being a public nuisance if they resisted. So they would pull over tour bus with sleeping tourists on it, wake them up, and then cite them for being drunk in public. If they resisted, they would get them for the drunk in public charge and for being a public nuisance. For having the audacity to resist. It's not very nice. So, between 1936 to 1946, which was the big date, the big year for this story, in 10 years, and this is, I don't think it's modern day money, I think this is money at that time, in 1946, the department earned almost $300,000 abusing the fee system. Okay, that's a lot of damn money. I think it might actually be money at the time. Because anything else in the articles I read that they would mention if it was adjusted for inflation. And they didn't mention it for that. So I think the town brought in that much money. Or the town didn't get any of it. The deputies pocketed that much money at that time. That's a lot of damn money. It's got to be easily over $1.5 million in today's. I can't imagine what that would be. I'm probably not even close. Probably more than that. 2 million. Who knows? Inflation's hard to keep track of these days, so who the hell knows, right? Put a little in the mustache. Skin food. All right. So beyond this, Cantrell and his men allowed roadhouses, brothels, and gambling dens into the town. It brought revenue for them. It brought more people for them to bust using their fee system. So you get, people fighting with prostitutes, people being drunk in public, getting pissed off they lost at casinos, all that. Just brought in more money. And as long as these businesses paid operating fees. So these guys were banking off just pure corruption while standing on the backs of the townspeople. The tax-paying townspeople, mind you. This is a really nice shaver. I have the Shadow Monster, the 6-inch one. This is aircraft, what's the word? Not aircraft style, aircraft grade aluminum. It's a very nice shaver, very comfortable. I love the Shadow Monster. I love long handled razors. I like them a lot. And that is a long handled razor, 6 inches, man. This one's 4, I believe. So the Shadow, you've seen it before, it comes out to like here. Thing's enormous. I hold it like that. And okay. Now, at the onset of World War II, due to the lack of men, Tennessee, historically, I think it was called the volunteer state for a while, unofficially, because it was on a list of one of the states that had the most volunteers to go and enlist for the war once America entered the war, okay? So due to a lack of men because of that, the town's police department was emptied out of men who had to go fight. as such, they were being filled with convicts. They were forced to go to ex-cons and hire them to become deputies. I'm not making this up. Athens, the friendly city, I was right, it's called the friendly city, was now far from the friendly city. So now you had corrupt deputies who should have been in prison to more corrupt deputies who had already been in prison. I'd move. Easy for me to say if you're multi-generational and grew up there, but no thanks. Okay, so during the war, 2 servicemen came home to Athens, Tennessee on leave, and they were shot and killed by Cantrell's deputies. Now, I went and looked into details of it. I couldn't really find a lot. I was kind of in the middle of trying to figure out what the hell I was going to do for this topic. It was before I decided on the 2-parter, so I didn't delve too deep. But from what I could find, it was just them out on leave. There's an altercation, maybe a drunken altercation of some kind, and they were both shot and killed. Now, the official death toll for the Battle of Athens is 0, a rock solid 0, for both sides. So there were no fatalities, but there were some, unfortunately, leading up. Okay. Men coming home from war were also beaten and arrested, okay, because they would come home flush with cash. You're over there, you're fighting, you're not going out to shopping malls, any of that. This is even really, I think, before the advent of shopping malls anyways, but you know what I mean. These guys were coming home flush with cash. And a lot of them had families, and they would just save their money for their families. So these guys came home well-to-do. And these assholes knew it. And so they would stop them and try to shake them down for their money. And a lot of them did. Okay? A lot of them were beaten if they resisted. They were beaten anyways and then arrested. In January of 1946, Cantrell decided he wanted to return to becoming sheriff. It is unclear as to why. It's never officially stated, but it is most likely due to his desire to make more money illegally. All right? Really, I think he did not have as many opportunities to line his pockets as much as he used to as sheriff when he was state senator. So more than likely, he decided to come back down for that reason. Plus, he had his crony Mansfield down there who wasn't going to say no. He basically was just holding the position for him. So, I believe the way it worked was they switched roles. Mansfield became state senator and he went back down to sheriff, I think. By this time, numerous veterans had become aware of the goings-on in their town and decided to do something about it. Now, a lot of these guys were overseas and they're getting messages that their families are suffering horribly under Cantrell, which I'll call it a regime by this point, because it really was. And imagine being overseas fighting, and then you get word you're fighting, and all you're thinking of is your family. And you get word that your family's being tormented by fascists at home. That's horrible. Can't even imagine. Around 3,000 residents were returning veterans. They decided to run their own candidates in an attempt to rid themselves of Cantrell in a fair election. Now, right here, I skipped over a lot of details. Even to keep part 1 at 3 pages. But ultimately, what happened was they decided that the only way they could really beat him legally without getting in trouble was to try to beat him in an election. The problem was finding someone. And this is not a Democrat-Republic thing at this point. This was a right versus wrong thing. There were no sides. The only sides that existed were you with Cantrell or were you against him? It didn't matter where you came from, what you believed in. So the problem was trying to get someone to run against him, because this man owned everything around this town, okay? So what ended up happening was a man named Knox Henry ran against him. I do have a photo of Knox Henry. I'm not going to show it here. There's a reason for it, okay? So on August 1st, 1946, his word amps up big time. August 1st, 1946, the election opened. Voters would come out and discover over 200 deputies on patrol. He outsourced more deputies just to bring them in, to have them walking around, to make it a point to just walk around. Okay, the normal amount of deputies or officers posted to keep the peace during an election usually ranged from 10 to 15. He had over 200. Excuse me. People began to be arrested for any offense that they decided would be deemed as a federal offense. All right. Let me do posts. I'll be right back. All right. So I didn't really talk about the soap much because I got so much to cover here. I will say that it is not an overpowering citrus. I think I mentioned that already. It's very nice. It's very slick. A lot of, once the lather builds up, because I always, as you know, put it on thin and then it just, explodes eventually. Really nice soap. Very nice for a vegan. I do know who private labels for him. I don't know if he cares if people know who it is or if that's something he doesn't want out, so I won't say who it is. They do make other stuff, and so if you are curious, just reach out to Ethan at the Shave Mercantile, ask him. But they make really good shave soap, so you've seen him around. Give him a shot. My favorite two of his, oh geez, I'll say my favorite three would be Classic Country Barbershop. I love that one. I think Lavenwood, and then the Backyard. Backyard, not the Backyard. Backyard is a good one. Really sweet, great summer, spring scent. Okay, but if you see him around, I mean, you get, is it 4 ounces? I believe 4 ounces. Yeah, 4 ounces of soap for usually $15 to $16. Good stuff. And he's a great guy. So you'll be supporting, yet again, a good dude. Okay, so here's where it gets sad. At around 3 p.m. that day, on August 1st, so everything culminates August 1st, August 2nd of 1946. Around 3 p.m. that day, a patrolman prevented an elderly farmer named Tom Gillespie. This officer's name was C.M. Windy Wise. His nickname was Windy. W-I-N-D-Y, not Windy like the girl's name. Named Tom Gillespie from casting his ballot. When he protested, the patrolman struck him and knocked him down. Here's a photo of Tom Gillespie. Now, when I wrote this down, I was in a hurry. So the details of this, what I did is I wrote down he ran away. So Gillespie tried to run, which he kind of really didn't. When he did, the officer drew his pistol and shot him in the back. All right. Windy Wise would be the sole person, the only one out of all this, on Cantrell's side to face any charges. Now, I'm doing all right for time here, so I will, the details of poor Mr. Gillespie, I don't think he died, because again, there were no fatalities. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he did not. But that was a photo of Gillespie there. What happened was he went in to vote. There was racial stuff involved with this. Obviously, I'm not going to say any of the words. Use your imagination. What just popped in there, yes. It came down to him walking in to vote. Windy Wise told him, no, you're not voting. Go home. He said, no, I'm going to vote. Basically, whether you like it or not. Good for him. Windy Wise took out a pair of brass knuckles and hit him. An elderly man. You saw the photo of him. Knocked him down. Okay? Gillespie got up, kind of brushed himself off, said, I know what my rights are. You know what my rights are. I'm going to go in and I'm going to cast my vote. And, of course, Windy Wise, that's when he got pissed off. So then there's an altercation there that was worse. And in a nutshell, that's when Gillespie turned to leave. I don't think he turned to run. I think he turned to leave, and he drew the pistol, shot him in the back. So those are the details with that. As for Windy Wise, he'd be the only one prosecuted. He was only sentenced to 3 years for doing this. He served 1 before he was paroled. Okay. There's another veteran named Bob Harrell. who protested when he witnessed deputies paying cash for Cantrell votes. So they were paying people to vote for Cantrell. He was beaten, clubbed, and dragged to jail unconscious. If that wasn't bad enough, the worst thing I think personally they did to him was 2 of the deputies took his wallet to steal it. And inside of his wallet were all these photos of his family that had helped him get through the war. Imagine just sitting there, you're far from home, you're scared, you have no idea what tomorrow's going to bring, and all you have are those photographs. They even took those, which would have been more valuable than anything else that was in his damn wallet. All right. Now, before all this, shortly before the voting day came of August 1st, 2 telegrams had been sent by the veterans, okay, because they knew that this was going to be ugly. One telegram went to the governor, and the other went to the Attorney General of Tennessee. Neither of them answered whatsoever. They heard nothing back from either of them. The mayor of Athens, conveniently, was gone. He was on vacation. Yeah, there was a mayor. Okay? It's kind of like with Robin Hood. There was King Richard, all that, but really everything was run by the sheriff of Nottingham, wasn't it? So, kind of like that. And here's where I'm going to end this, okay? There were many veterans who had lost hope and deemed the election to be a lost cause. There was other bad stuff that had happened, okay? They just were like, he's too strong. There's no way we can win this. I'm tired. We just got home from war. We're just going to lick our wounds. We're going to go home, let the chips fall where they may, okay? And a lot of them, understandably, did that. They just was like, it's not worth it. My family's been through enough. I'm home. I lived. I'm going to go live my life. A survivor of the Pacific theater of the war, one of the worst parts of World War II, said, yeah, I'm not doing that. And his name was Bill White. There's a photo of Bill White. And this man is a badass. Okay? I'm going to leave it here. So there's stuff I omitted. I actually threw in some stuff I didn't write down. And there's still stuff that I didn't even talk about yet. Or talk about that had to do with the lead up. It's crazy that could happen in really modern America. And I think he took full advantage of the war because he didn't have to go. The men were gone. You know, this is all this stuff that he took advantage of, unfortunately. And it's really sad. That didn't look good. But, yeah, so part 2. I owe Steve of Alien Shave a video. I'm way overdue for a video for Steve. So I'll probably do that first, maybe. And then I'm going to do part 2. I'm going to try to have part 2. Today is Friday. I'm going to try to have part 2 done by at least a week from now. So my wife goes back to work from maternity leave Monday. 3 days from now. Next Monday. We're both not looking forward to it. It was very nice having her home. She was home almost 4 months, which is unprecedented. This is the first time I can remember she was home for all of our kids, for summer, for all of that. And it was glorious. It was fantastic. Coast Guard, that's the first time they just enacted that where they let you stay home that long as a new mom. The longest she got with any of our kids was 6 weeks. With Aiden, our oldest, she got 3 or 4 weeks. I myself got none, was entitled to none, and then I had a command that was decent enough to go to fight to try to get me some time off, so I ended up getting about a week and a half. So maybe 2 weeks. It went by quick, so I can't remember. I think maybe it was 2 weeks. But so I'll be taking care of the kiddos. She's going to be working out of Boston. And our baby gets his best sleep on the couch. He refuses to sleep in his crib. Refuses to sleep through the night. He just turned 4 months. So this is ingrained, and We've been fighting tooth and nail with him. If we put him anywhere else but the couch, he'll sleep for maybe 20-30 minutes, wake up. After a full day of that at night, he's a disaster. He's overtired. If you don't know kids, if babies are overstimulated, they won't go to bed. Period. It's bizarre. You think biologically they just pass out, but nope. And he screams. He doesn't like being sat down. He likes being walked around. He doesn't fall asleep in the crib or in the car. Not really. He doesn't fall asleep in the stroller. He only likes being walked around and held. Well, that sucks. So that's why I've been tired. That's why I haven't done as much, between trying to help her and just being exhausted and not having the energy to do it. I'm even tired now. But anywho, this balm, by the way, I don't think I really talked about it. I just saw this. Where did I come across this? I think I was just in a random grocery store or drugstore somewhere. I don't think it was in West Virginia. I think it was before that. I was somewhere I don't usually go. It might have been in New Hampshire. And I just looked down and saw it, and I was like, I don't recall hearing of that brand, so I picked it up. It's not bad. It's all right. It's a gel. I wouldn't even call it a balm. It's very clear. Absorbs instantly. So, smells all right. Okay. It has like an aloe vera kind of scent to it, but it's a little sweet too. Yeah, aloe is the 4th or 5th ingredient. 5th ingredient. All right. But if you ever see that, not bad stuff. It's nice. It's good to pair if you want the scent of everything else you used to be prominent and not have a balm, excuse me, that leaves the scent. So, all right, that'll do it, guys. Thank you for watching, especially this long. I did a lot better than I thought I would, honestly. I thought I'd be pushing 40 minutes, which I kind of am anyways. But stay tuned for part 2 if you like this. It amps up because it's called a revolution for a reason. So, all right, everyone, thank you very much. Y'all take care. Take care of one another. Be safe. Enjoy the last snippets of summer. We got about 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks to go. So, yeah, good stuff. Y'all take care. Happy shaving. Till next time.